Welcome back to Faster and Louder. We are back here in the shed. I left off talking about the strut rod bracket, and I think that I explained it sufficiently enough, but basically it needs somewhere to mount to for the linkage for the clutch assembly. All that stuff, all the linkage in between the pedal and the actual clutch fork. So what I'm doing, or what I just did right now, is I drilled a hole for the provisions here. So this right here, this 3/4 inch hole, let me show you something. There's supposed to be this, I think it's nylon or something. Oops. It's similar to nylon. I don't think that it actually is. But anyways, when this is actually back on the car, this bushing here fits inside of this hole right here. And then the pivot on the Z-bar fits inside here with this little boot here. And then the other side goes into that support bracket that I showed in the last video. So I'm gonna have to kind of figure out how this is all gonna piece together exactly. I think I'm actually gonna have to take the support bracket back off. Sorry about the fan, by the way, it's friggin' hot in here though. I probably need to take the support bracket off just to get the other side of the Z-bar in, and then I can kind of like put it all in all together. But I'm gonna put things back on. I'm gonna put this bracket, the strut rod bracket, back on the car where it needs to be, and then kind of just piece together everything as I go. As you can see here, I have the Z-bar actually in here now. You can see the support bracket on the right side there. It went on pretty straight, so that was all good. I still had to fasten the strut rod bracket back on there all the way and all that good stuff, but I'm getting really close to getting the whole assembly together the way that I need it. So everything's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this so far. As this is really the last connection right here. It's the clutch rod fork to the Z-bar, and then I think that that's pretty much it. We do need to figure out what to do with the backup lights. This is from this is like the neutral safety switch slash backup light harness from up in the engine compartment up here. But I need to figure out a way to adapt this to the backup light on the actual transmission here. But I don't think that'll be too hard. I still gotta look into that to figure out how I'm gonna do that exactly. We did actually test it on the transmission with a what do you call it, like a test meter, and it does turn on the backup lights when you put it into reverse. So we already verified that part, but I'm gonna keep trying to make some progress here, see if I can get this piece together a little bit more. I have everything connected now. There's just that one rod I was talking about. Put it on there, wasn't really a big issue. I'm in the car now, and I'm just gonna get some pedal feel and try to figure out if anything's binding or anything weird's happening before I continue reassembling things. So let's give it a push. Yep, there's definitely a good feel in there. I do need to get that other spring though on there, I just remembered. So you can definitely feel when it's like engaging and disengaging, which is exactly why I love mechanical linkage clutches. But I'm gonna get that spring on there before I forget. Before I get to putting this spring on here, I just wanted to point out something that would probably be useful for people to know. There's a retainer spring for the Z-bar over here, and that was an old one that came with my clutch fork, or one that came with the bell housing when I bought it. But it's an old one, but I'm using the old one to act as a retainer spring. And I was tipped off to this by one of the suppliers for AMC stuff. He was saying that the throw out spring, which is this that I bought brand new from them, this can also be used as the retainer spring. It's probably technically two different things, but they both work. And now I'm going to put this on here, which I believe goes on like this somehow, and then just springs onto here. I'm gonna look at the diagram, but yeah, all I had to do is that. As you can see, I have the spring on here. I think that the diagram actually calls for it to be on the outside where it hooks around here, but there's actually not enough room with everything on like this. Oh yeah. That feels good. Feels real good. I think we're good on that. I just have to tighten up everything, put the strut rod back on, all that good stuff, and then I should be done with the linkage. So really all I'm waiting for at this point is the drive shaft. And so I'll get the drive shaft in, put fluid in the transmission. I gotta put the starter on. I'm gonna change some header bolts. Just stupid minor things, but it'll make my life a little bit easier. What I mean by the header bolts, I guess I should probably explain, is you can get aftermarket ones. I'm gonna have to show you parts numbers or something when I get to it, but what I have in a package still just waiting, it's on standby. I have header bolts with like the smallest possible heads on it that you can get, and it makes a world of a difference when you got 1 7/8 collector tubes coming out of the heads. So I'm gonna replace those on the driver's side header when I get around to that. But that was the main thing that I really wanted to check and see if it all worked out, so I'm super happy about that. And we're back here with the drive shaft. Just picked this up today. As you can see, it is nice and black and all looks good. I got the faster and louder sticker on there, holographic, super cool. So as you would expect, it has the T5 output shaft. I can't remember what it's called right now. It has that on one side and then the AMC U-joint on the other. I'm actually getting ready to go under the car really quick and make sure everything fits the way that it's supposed to before I get too excited here. I guess maybe I put the sticker on preemptively. I do have the shifter in the actual car now, so it's in there. I also have like a Hurst shifter boot. It looks really nice. Unfortunately, the hole is pretty big for the shifter to actually go through the floorboard, and I accidentally I cut the carpet too much around the edges, and it kind of looks like crap. So I'm trying to figure out a solution for that. I'd like to do some sort of console, so I was actually thinking about kind of hacking this thing up a little bit. The thing that sucks is, for one thing, the automatic console is like more to the left. So when you put this on here with the shifter in, it's like right in the middle of this, so you can't really move it to the right very much, and it's kind of pressing up against this. What I was thinking about doing was basically just opening this whole thing, and just even to this like little side pocket kind of thing here, just opening it all up so it's just one big hole. But I would have to figure out something to like kind of close up the hole like everywhere else. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that just yet or not. I don't know if I really want to get into that kind of project right now. I might kind of just deal with things how they are, and then I don't know, we'll revisit that. It's kind of what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's pretty much just drive shaft, neutral safety switch, fluid, and then that's pretty much it in order to get the transmission going, I think. So I'm gonna get down there and hopefully this thing measures out right. As you can see, I have the drive shaft in the car now, and it fits really well. I think it's just slightly shorter, possibly, but it's barely any different than what we actually measured. So I think it might be like an inch and a half pulled out of the transmission. It's gonna be just fine. There's a lot of room on the yoke of the drive shaft, so I think it's gonna be just fine. I'm just gonna keep telling myself that, and eventually I'll believe it. Now I am on to putting the starter back on, and then probably putting my header bolts on. These are those ones I was talking about with a really small bolt head. Part number is 100-1110. I'm glad that I double checked the capacity for oil in the transmission, because I was convinced in my head that it was 2.26 quarts of transmission fluid. I have no idea where I got that number from, but I'm glad I double checked, because it's actually 2.8 quarts. And you can basically just fill it until it starts coming out of the fill hole, which is essentially what I did. And that way you know that you're good. So I just put some Teflon tape on the MPT plug, Popped it back in there. Nothing's leaking anywhere, so that's always a good sign. Everything appears to be going well so far. Fingers crossed. You know I'm making progress when my hair's messed up and I might have a little bit of dirt or something on my face. I have everything done. I put the spark plug wires back on. I bolted up the header, the driver's side header again. I put the starter back on. The transmission is filled. Driveshaft is on. Pretty much everything is done except for the backup lights. But I do believe that everything is bolted up to the point where I could test it out. I do need to put the exhaust back on, which is basically just 12 inches of exhaust pipe and like a 12-inch cherry bomb muffler on each side. So it's not really much of an exhaust, but I do need to put that on really quick. It's like 10 o'clock at night, so obviously I'm not going to start it tonight. But I think next time, I think here in about 5 seconds your time, you're going to see this car running. Sorry guys, but I'm holding out on you for that first drive. I'm not gonna lie, I already took the car out for a drive, and sorry I didn't show you that, but I was just so nervous and wanted to have my ear on everything that I just didn't record, and I didn't want to record. I wanted my mind to be 100% on what was happening with the car. So things are pretty okay for the most part. I drove, came back, I'm alive, I'm here. So far I think everything's good. I already checked the lights and everything, make sure everything's still working properly, and it appears that everything's working the way it's supposed to, but more on that in just a minute. One of the things that I did notice was the transmission was clunking against the floorboard or something a little bit. So I kind of moved around the floorboard a little bit, around the transmission some. I tweaked a couple things here and there, but what I'm really waiting for is I'm going to get the exhaust done, and I'm also going to get the car actually legal, and then we'll go for a drive and I'll kind of just show you how everything is. But I've been working on a couple things in the meantime. I've been keeping myself busy. As you can see here, I have modified my console to work with the stick shift. So it took a couple iterations to get this right, and it still looks a little janky here in a couple spots. Not super happy with it, but I had to use this. I had to use the trim that came with this boot in order to properly to get this boot to stay in place. I tried to use a lot of sealant and whatever, and it worked kind of, but it wasn't working too great. This basically just helped suck it to the plastic, and I used a bunch more sealant, and everything seems to be holding okay so far, but I haven't put it back in the car just yet. I have like a new shifter handle coming, which is a different story altogether, but I had some issues with the old handle and the knob and everything, so I have like a new thread adapter coming and all that stuff. That's all pretty boring, but I did make myself a little insert for the console. I do have a lid on the way. That's a little splurge item. I wasn't really intending on getting that anytime soon, but with everything else being pretty done and kind of nice, I figured, you know, maybe I should finish this. So that's on its way. And then one of the other loose ends was I didn't have the backup light wired, and it turns out that it's actually pretty easy. There's a neutral safety switch harness that comes from the engine bay to the transmission. It's 3 wires. It was for the automatic transmission. One of the wires is a blue tracer in the middle. It's basically a ground wire. It's used for, it's the actual neutral safety switch wire. So that way you can't start it in gear, whatever. I'm basically just deleting that, not using that. I think there is a way that you can kind of figure it in somehow, but I'm just not going to worry about it right now. So I have it taped and kind of off to the side. But I wired the other 2 wires. They just go directly to, doesn't even matter what wires go to what, but the other 2 wires go to the 2 wires going to the transmission, and now I have backup lights. So that's really good. So right now I'm waiting on my new handle, the shifter handle. I'm waiting for the adapter like I was talking about. and then I have the exhaust, and I'm gonna do something that's kind of like a 70 Challenger TA setup, where it's like the side exit exhaust right before the rear wheels. It's gonna be pretty cool. I hope that it's a little bit quieter. I don't think it's gonna be quiet by any means, but quiet enough that I probably won't piss off everyone in my neighborhood, hopefully. I'll take you along on the adventure for that, and we can enjoy that together. Well, this is it. Today is the big day where I go to get the exhaust put on the car, the one I was talking about just a minute ago. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna probably pick it up tomorrow, it sounds like, and then I'm gonna make everything legal. I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna just take you with me on a little trip here, but I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about with the clanging sound. I think that it's exhaust. I hope it's the exhaust, because I don't want to be anything more complicated than that. But my fingers are kind of just crossed on that right now. I haven't really had enough time to make sure that everything's charging properly, but I do believe that it is. The ammeter, I guess you could call it, is showing some voltage, so I believe that it's charging. I just haven't really driven it far enough or long enough to really charge it a whole lot. So just trying to make sure, you know, easy insurance, that you know, they don't have any issues with it at the shop or anything. But yeah, I guess without any further ado, let's get going. So it's really cold natured. Alright, let's take off. Tech 2. There we go. Forever to get out of the neighborhood. Bet you thought I couldn't drive a stick shift. Not good at it, but forgot to tighten a lot of the strut rod adjustments, so I'm gonna have to go back and have them fix what they didn't do. It's kind of a bummer. Temperature's good. We're hitting about 165, 170 right now. Oil pressure's at 60. Air fuel ratio is a little leaner than I would like, but not bad. Putting around about 1200 RPM. Not really sure how fast I'm going, probably about 45. Notice oil near the rear of the engine. I'm pretty sure it's not the rear main seal, but I don't know what it is just yet. It could be the breather that's making it smell, the oil breather. I'm not entirely sure just yet. Yeah, I think this is officially as far as I've ever gone in the car. So as you saw there really quick, the car is dropped off at the muffler shop. It's Performance Muffler in Phoenix. The only thing that I didn't really anticipate was I forgot to mention that I wanted to do a 3-inch exhaust on the whole thing. So they gave me a quote assuming that I was going to do 2.5. And I think that they have to use basically different bender and everything. They have to do like the mandrel bending instead of like the tube bender. I don't know what anything's called. But anyways, 3-inch uses a different bender altogether, and it's more expensive for the materials and all that. So they can't really do it super cheap with 3-inch exhaust. You just don't have the option. So I ended up still being able to use the 3-inch muffler and X pipe. So that's good, but they're basically just using 2.5 for everything else. Hopefully the exhaust is quieter. Hopefully I can actually start it at night without waking up the entire neighborhood at least. That would be pretty sweet. You know, it would be cool to actually be able to drive my car at night. That's pretty much the only time you can really drive a car in Arizona right now. It's freaking hot outside. Anyways, we'll just cut to the exhaust being done and we'll just see what that sounds like. All right, it is the next day. The exhaust sounds good. I showed you a little clip right there. I don't really want to run the engine too much more because the negative thing that I figured out when I could actually hear the engine running finally was that I had a vibration. And before I couldn't tell because the exhaust was just so loud and it was like exiting right under the car, so I couldn't hear it or feel it exactly. But now the exhaust is way more mellowed out, and it's very obvious that now I have a flywheel vibration. I was under the impression that you could take, like if you have a stock flex plate with a weight on it, I was under the impression that you could just replace the flex plate from before with the 401 weighted flywheel and everything would be okay. But I called up the machine shop and they said that's not the case, and the clutch itself could be throwing the balance one way or another too. So there's that. But anyways, moral of the story is I have to take the entire transmission back out of this now so we can get the flywheel and clutch out, and then I can bring it to the balancing shop and they can get that all squared away for me hopefully. And hopefully we'll be back on the road without any further issues. But not really looking forward to it. I had everything together. I was hoping that we're gonna be good. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not before, but the clanging that I was hearing before is gone. So the clanging was the exhaust just hitting the transmission cross member like I was thinking it would be. So I mean, there's that. That's good. And I will be able to start this car without waking up the entire neighborhood or my baby, most importantly. But yeah, really not looking forward to doing this whole thing all over again. But I'm gonna see if Ivan can come this weekend. It's probably gonna be a little bit of a hiatus for a few weeks for me. Just got some family stuff going on, so I'm not gonna be wrenching on this thing constantly. But if I can at least get that flywheel out, get that whole process started, then that'll make me happy. This is admittedly a lot easier to take in and out than the automatic transmission, so there's that. I guess that makes things a little easier. I guess I'll just check back in when that whole thing starts. Alright, so I spent a couple hours last night getting all the stuff disconnected from the transmission, and today Randy came over. In about an hour or so we got everything out. So we got the transmission down for about the 8th time already, just on this transmission. That's not including the other one. But we got the clutch and flywheel out, and this is the old flex plate. So now I'm gonna take it to King Balancing in Glendale, and I'm gonna have them match the weight of everything on this to the old flex plate, make sure we're all good to go. One other unfortunate, I guess it's kind of fortunate that I noticed, but unfortunate that I have to do it. But I think that either the oil pan gasket is leaking or the rear main seal has not it's not sealed. So I got to deal with that. I did notice some like oil dripping down here and whatnot, so I'm gonna be hopefully taking care of that before we throw everything back together. Here's Randy. Whoa! All right, we're here. Gonna drop off this crap. As you can see there, we dropped off the flywheel. It's getting all balanced and everything. It's been a couple days now. It's Monday. I think it's probably gonna take them at least another day to get that all set up and ready for me. But in the meantime, I've been putting a lot of thought into upgrading the clutch. They actually have the clutch over there right now to make sure that it's balanced with the flywheel and everything, but it's only a very slightly stronger than OEM style clutch. And if you know anything about the original purpose for that clutch, it was for like a CJ7 with a straight 6 or a 304 at best, the V8. So OEM strength would be like 150 horsepower and maybe like 200 torque tops. This is slightly better than that, which is still not very good. That's maybe like a third of the horsepower that my engine makes. So I have been putting a lot of thought into the clutch. My original thought was, if I get a clutch that's on the weaker side, it'll slip before it can do any damage to the transmission. And I still think that that's true. I'm just going to be kind of chancing it a little bit, but I don't really want to burn out the clutch super fast. It seems like a lot of people just have issues where the clutch burns up. And I was scared by the fact that there was some weird wear on the flywheel. And when I get that back, if it's still there, I'll show you. And I don't know what it is entirely. There was a small leak from the oil pan, I determined. I was able to tighten it up a little bit, and on my fingers are crossed that that's all that needs to be done to fix that. But anyways, I digress. I'm probably gonna get an upgraded clutch setup. McLeod, I don't know how you pronounce their name. It's one company. They offer one that's good for up to 500 torque, and it's about $420 for just a pressure plate and the clutch disc itself. And in center force, a lot of people love center force also. It's supposed to be like kind of like a softer application clutch, so it doesn't just like slam the flywheel and break stuff, which is exactly what you want, is something nice and soft for this T5. But their whole setup is like $510. It's the cheapest I can find. Everything went up in price a lot in the past few years. There's guys on forums and whatever, and they're saying that they got that center force clutch like 3 years ago for like $350. So I'm just really unlucky, of course, and I'm gonna pay a lot of money for a clutch regardless. But I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do that now that everything's back apart again, and just kind of make sure everything's good and hopefully not have to worry about it. But you know how that goes. I got everything back from the balancing shop. They found out that everything was kind of weighted pretty far off of what it should be. And of course I brought everything in to compare it to my flex plate, which is what I originally used with a torque flight transmission. So you can see right here, this is the flex plate. It's unaltered. It's basically directly out of the box how you would get it. Just bought totally unmodified. This is the counterweight right here. Obviously the flex plate is way lighter than the flywheel. You can see this is the flywheel. It's pretty beefy in comparison, and the pressure plate's already installed on it. They weighted everything with the clutch off of it first and found out that the flywheel was, I believe they said 70 grams off, which is quite a bit. And then the clutch itself was another 22 grams out, and you can see like they just basically took a drill bit and just took a little bit of weight out here. In order to kind of even everything out, they have to keep it clocked with the counterweight on the flywheel. So when you take weight out like this, you have to keep it clocked in order to keep it properly weighted with the counterweight on the flywheel. So what they ended up doing is just taking tiny little, it looks like they just took like a drill and just kind of made a few marks here. There's like, I don't know if this is in focus or not, but there's 3 marks here. There's 2 right here. And then there's one right here. So basically you just clock those to make sure that it's right. And honestly, when I brought this in, my intent was just reuse this clutch and call it good. But this is only slightly better than OEM, I believe, and OEM is just not gonna hold enough and actually last. So I decided while this was getting balanced and everything that I'm not even gonna use this. So this was kind of a waste. I might just sell it or try to sell it, see if anybody's interested. But I do have a center force clutch on its way now. So that actually is coming from Jags. And I'm not really sure when it's going to come in, but I'm going to try to get everything cleaned up on the back of the engine again. And I'm going to get this bolted up and get everything ready to reinstall the transmission. One other thing that I wanted to show you guys was the weird wear that was starting here. I don't know how well you can see this, but it looks like either a burn spot almost, like where the clutch got hot engaging into the flywheel, or maybe there was oil. It's a little hard to tell. It's just this weird spot, and it's only here. If you look all the way around, there's no other real discernible wear indication except for that one spot. So it's kind of odd, not really sure. I mean, it looks good on the actual clutch itself. It looks pretty evenly dispersed, so I don't really know what that's about, but I'm just gonna try to clean this up again. I'm gonna see if there's anything that I need to do specifically to maybe kind of scuff this up or something, but I'm definitely gonna clean it up before I put it back on there. I just went over it with this scour pad. I'm not sure what the actual abrasive quality is of it. I believe these are supposed to be like 220 equivalent or something of that nature. I've found them to not really even be that strong, but anyways, I went over this just a few times, like literally 30 seconds, and you can pretty much not even see that spot that was over here, which makes me believe that it was probably some sort of oil residue that was causing that. Finally got the clutch, guys. I shouldn't even really say finally, because I waited for a little while before I got this, and it came in like 3 days, but I got a center force clutch. This is pretty much off the recommendation of most people that have an aftermarket or a performance style clutch. But opened it up and looked at some of the paperwork earlier, but that's it right there. So I'm gonna clean it off and get the disc on there and stuff and try to get things aligned. I already got the flywheel on, so yeah, I'm just gonna put this on, hopefully get it aligned nice and good, and I'll be pretty much ready to start connecting things back up again. In there like swimwear. Okay, so I got the clutch on the flywheel and all that, so we're good on that. I have Randy here joining me today, and we're gonna hopefully get the transmission at least bolted back up to the engine. A lot of this other stuff I can probably take care of myself. I just want to take advantage of some help right now because I can't really get this in there by myself. I don't even want to attempt to do it by myself. But I can do a lot of the smaller things on my own. So we're gonna see how lucky we are getting everything attached in there. We had issues last time where we had to like basically take the bell housing apart with the transmission like up almost where it's supposed to be and do all kinds of weird juggling, but hopefully we won't have that issue today. So I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's go do it. All right, so Randy and I were able to get a lot of the work done just now. We got the transmission back into the car. I got a lot of the clutch linkage done, so you can feel the clutch disengaging with the pedal and everything. I think really all that's left is the starter. There's like a bolt for the console to actually bolt it down, and then I think just a couple other smaller things and it's pretty much ready to go. Well, and the whole exhaust, which I should be able to pretty much tackle the rest of these things in the next couple days. So we're gonna get this thing finished up and started back up. We're gonna see if there's still a vibration or not. Really hoping there isn't. All right, this is shaping up to be the least disappointing drive in this car so far. Got the new exhaust on. Flywheel's balanced. I got a center force clutch on there now instead of the cheap OEM style clutch. Everything should be pretty much on the up and up. So let's take it around neighborhood a little bit here. And timing probably need a little bit of setting up still, needs to be dialed in. It's decent, but you can hear like a little bit of a bog when I stab the throttle. It's still running a little lean on the primaries too, so I'm probably gonna rejet it, jet it up just a little more. All kinds of weird vibrations going on. Tilt here. It does feel a lot smoother with this clutch. Oh yeah, it's so much smoother. One thing is I do have, ooh, yeah, there's a lot of rubbing going on. Polyurethane motor mount, so that is going to be a factor in some of the vibration and whatnot that I feel. I'm gonna go in here. Oops. Yeah, I don't know if my power steering is kind of making like a slight groaning, or if that's a steering box or what's going on, but there's something. You can hear it right there. I think I keep chirping the tires. Kind of gotta take it easy because I actually don't have a speedometer right now. And I realized earlier when I was getting gas that I don't even have an odometer because I don't have my speedometer cable, so I'm gonna have a real fun time keeping track of how much gas I have in this thing. $50 got me 9.5 gallons. Gotta love it. I think it's about 102 degrees outside right now, so that's fun. I'm expecting the camera to turn off from the heat pretty soon. But anyways, this is the first trip. What do you guys think? Besides the obvious issues, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, so far so good. Can't complain too much. Right at 180. Probably gonna go up here just sitting. Wish I had AC though. Idling at about 950. Oil pressure is about 40. I guess that's it for right now. If you like this video, please check out the other videos I've already done about this car. I've done about 50 of them or so. It's been a huge journey just getting to this point. There's a lot more to do still, like air conditioning. But please subscribe, leave a comment, share the video. Thanks a lot, guys. Later.
morning finally.